What is it like being a Jamaican in Saint Lucia? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com. And today in Jamaicans to the World, I talk to Leathon Kahn, a Jamaican living in Saint Lucia. Leathon, how are you?
I am absolutely fine, man. Grateful for life and grateful for blessings, man. I'm good. I can't complain.
Good, good. Which part of Jamaica you come from?
All right. Well, I am from Westmoreland. I'm a country boy. I was born in Smithfield, and I'm not sure if you know Westmoreland very well, but I was born in Smithfield at my aunt's house. But I actually grew up in two neighboring communities, Torrington and Stratbogie, which is just outside of Westmoreland. And I must tell you, I've had a really hard time convincing my Jamaican colleagues here in St. Lucia that there's actually a place called Stratbogie. They think it is not a real place.
I, I, I was about to ask you about that. I've never heard of Strat Boogie.
Strathbogie. I've had to go
Okay.
to Google Maps to make my case to my fellow Jamaicans here because they never heard of Strathbogie. And Strathbogie is such a wonderful, famous place. I'm surprised you don't know about it. You'll have to put
Uh,
it on your to-do list.
well, now I know the most famous person from Strat Boogie.
That's because you haven't met my brother, Oral.
Well, let's leave it at that. We leave it at the famous person I met is you.
All right.
So, which high school are you representing?
Okay, so let me first correct you. The school I went to is not referred to as a high school. We don't
Right.
use the word high in the name of our school. I've had the honor to attend the Manning School. You know about the
Okay.
Manning School, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is the pride of Western Jamaica. And in case you didn't know, Manning School is the second oldest school in the English-speaking Caribbean. And we've been slightly edged out by Wolmer's by about 9 years or so. We were established in 1738, and I'm very, very proud of Manning's. In fact,
Nice.
just to set the record straight, since we're talking about school, conceptually, Manning's is the first school conceptualized in the Caribbean since 1710, when a will was established to form a school. But it didn't get built or didn't get established or operational until 1738. And during that time, Wilmers was able to come on board. But conceptually, we're older than Wilmers.
All right. So, Manning, big up, and all
Big
the
up.
folks there getting a history lesson today. We
We
learn.
made
We
it to the
learn
D Cup
about.
finals for the first time in 284 years this year. But we lost to
Yes.
Derby Masio, but that's all right.
Yeah, a good team. A good
Good
team.
team.
You lost
Yeah, man.
out there. Yeah, tough team. So, tell us your story. How you got to Saint Lucia?
Well, that's a long story. But getting to St. Lucia was just the universe aligning certain things in my life to be here. I I was working in New Kingston, and this was in 1993. I was working with an insurance brokerage firm as an account executive. I had a family, um, three young children, having lived in Trinidad before for about 3 years, moved back to Jamaica, and was there for about 4 years. And we started having some concerns about life in Jamaica, the crime situation, the cost of living, and we considered, looking at opportunities in other islands. And I distinctly remember one evening, my wife and I pulled out an atlas of the Caribbean, and was looking at it, just to see what might interest us. And we said, Saint Lucia looks like an interesting place. It's kind of in between Trinidad and Jamaica, because I was very clear I didn't want to go back to Trinidad. I had already done that. And I thought Saint Lucia looked like a nice middle ground. And we kind of just left it as that, almost like wishful thinking. And about 2 3 weeks later, just like that, I was at work. I got a phone call from a gentleman and he identified himself, and he said he was calling from Saint Lucia. And I'm like, where? I said, yes, Saint Lucia. And he told me about this job opportunity to manage a new insurance brokerage firm they had just opened up in Saint Lucia. And they weren't able to find anybody so far. And he said in a conversation with some other folks, my name was recommended to him. So he was just calling me to find out if I'd be interested. No, I could not believe this because the timing was so right. We had just looked at St. Lucia and considered it as a possibility. And I thought, this is incredible. And I said, well, yes, of course, I'd be willing to explore the opportunity. Well, to cut a long story short, I went home and discussed it with the boss. and she was equally blown away by the coincidence. And so we agreed to come down to St. Lucia to spend a weekend just to look around, to check out the place, to get a feel for it. And the moment I landed, I just knew this was going to be it. Even before I went in for the interview on the Monday morning, I said to myself, I'm going to do this. It just felt right. I absolutely just fell in love with the place. And
nice.
I did the interview. I went to St. Lucia, I think, on a Friday. I drove around for the weekend, got a look at the place. The interview on the Monday lasted about 10 minutes. Because it was just a done deal. We shook hands, and I came back to Jamaica the day after. And within a month's time, I had packed up what I felt I needed to keep. I put it on a container, a 20-foot container. I shipped it off to St. Lucia. What I didn't need or felt I didn't need, I gave it away or left it there, and was back in St. Lucia in 1 month's time with my family. That was 29 years ago. And this is home now. It just felt right, and it has felt right ever since.
So the question I have is, did the boss give the stamp of approval? You said as soon as you land, you said this was it. Did the boss give the stamp of approval?
The boss needed to convince me. The boss was more convinced than I was. Well, my wife at the time was from Trinidad, and Jamaica at the time was very challenging. And we had 3 young kids, and we needed an environment in which we could bring up 3 kids somewhere safe. And St. Lucia was the ideal place, I have to tell you. So they were.
So tell us a little bit about the people there.
All right. Well, St. Lucia first has a population of about 185,000 people. It's a relatively small place. It's about the same population as I think St. Mary. So you basically know everybody in St. Lucia, and everybody in St. Lucia would know you. But we will get to that.
That's why I said you're famous.
Famous at all. But I have found St. Lucians to be some of the most wonderful, sincere people that I've met. St. Lucians embrace me without any problems whatsoever. I've had no difficulty getting into St. Lucian society and integrating into the community. They have been a very beautiful people. And the thing about it, St. Lucians have an affinity towards Jamaicans. I've lived in Trinidad for 3 years. I've been to just about all the other islands in the Eastern Caribbean, and nowhere else have I found where the people are so in tune with Jamaicans, and they have embraced the Jamaican culture in a very, very big way. So wow. It's been a wonderful experience, to be honest. I am now married to a Saint Lucian. So that goes to show you how smitten I have been by by the Saint Lucians folk. But they're very proud people. They love their country. They love their culture, just as we do in Saint Lucia. They're very proud of what their country have achieved. I don't know if you know, but Saint Lucia is the only country in the world. Well, not the only country, but Saint Lucia has produced 2 Nobel laureates. All right, and they're the only country in the world of this size that has 2 Nobel laureates, and that's a record.
Wow.
And they're very proud of that. So, don't play with St. Lucians when it comes to their achievements on the international scene. And you may also know of Darren Sammy, a world famous cricketer who captained the West Indies team and brought home the trophy for the ICC 2020 twice. No other captain in the history of cricket has been able to do that. And a proud St. Lucian, Darren Sammy, has done that.
Nice. Nice. And what's their perception of, you said they like Jamaicans, they like the culture, but initially when you got there, what was the perception of Jamaica?
Well, I would have to say, based on my own personal experience, because that's what you can go by, was that it was very good. Nobody gave me a bad face. Nobody kind of turned and wonder what you're doing here. Right. Because they know of all the Jamaican icons, all the heroes, the Mali and the Bulls. Well, not back then at that time, but they were quite aware of the accomplishment of Jamaica and Jamaicans. And in fact, some early Jamaicans came here back in the 60s and 70s who were very instrumental in developing the agricultural sector in St. Lucia. I can think of Speedy Mullings and a gentleman called Stan Mullings. These guys were legendary in their own way. They did a lot to develop the agricultural sector. So they kind of paved the way for Jamaicans.
I see.
Came after, because many people mentioned them to me when I just came here. So they have wrapped their arms around Jamaicans, and I just reciprocate and wrap my arms around them. I honestly, Xavier, I've never been homesick one day in this country. As much as I love Jamaica and it's dear to my heart, St. Lucia has been extremely welcoming, and the people have made me feel very much at home.
You speak about the agriculture industry. So I made a one stop there on a cruise. And I remember, this may be that influence that brought this there. I remember when we got off and we went to some place out in the countryside, and they had Bombay mangoes. And they basically said to me, the Bombay mangoes are everywhere, and they're not near and dear to them like they're near and dear to us. And in fact, I showed the lady how to cut the Bombay mango and twist it off, and she was blown away, and she was like, I'm gonna have to start doing this now. So I don't know if that was the influence to, that was part of the influence, them, with the mango, and that's,
Probably. I know the guys who came here were involved mainly in banana production, because St. Lucia is famous for its banana production. But let me tell you, mangoes, that's one of my favorite fruits, pal, and it's in abundance in St. Lucia. I can't get enough mangoes in St. Lucia. the Julie mango. I mean, during mango season, I'll tell you, I will sit in front of 4 or 5 Julie mangoes, and that's dinner for the day, because I don't eat meat anymore. So I strictly fruits and vegetables and fish. And in mango season, my kitchen is full of mangoes of all sorts. You have a wide variety of mangoes down here.
There's a meme, you're sounding like this meme that they have out there where they show this man and a ton of mangoes in front of him, and him just eating.
I've seen it. I've seen it. Yeah, well, that could easily be me.
So food, I know you're saying you don't eat meat, you eat fish, but if you were to recommend a Saint Lucian dish,
Yeah.
or dishes that, maybe 2 dishes that people should try, what would you recommend?
Okay. So since I don't eat meat anymore, I can't talk about meat. For the last 4 years I stopped eating meat. But
But you used to eat it.
I was a serious meat
when,
eater.
so when you used to eat it, maybe you can drop one of those in here.
Well, I used to eat every meat. I love a good pork chops. I like a nice steak, and I love lamb. I actually love. They make a excellent what they call a lamb bouillon. I don't know if you're familiar with what a bouillon is. It's a kind of soup. I honestly don't know how to make it. All I know it tastes good, and I've missed it since I stopped eating meat. But green fig. I don't know if you're familiar with the term green fig and saltfish is Saint Lucia's national dish. And green fig is actually green bananas. So what you call green boiled bananas is called green fig in Saint Lucia. And that's the local dish. And I eat a lot of green fig, boiled bananas, and saltfish. That's my favorite local dish. In addition to conch, or what they call it, lambi. I can never get the pronunciation right because there's some French involved with labi, my wife tells me. So grilled conch. You'll understand grilled conch. I eat a lot of that. Yeah. But there's another dish that they do, and it's called a float. And again, I enjoy a good float with saltfish and some vegetables. Now, a float is, just imagine a very light, fluffy fried dumpling or Johnny cake. It's made similar to a fried dumpling, but it's very soft and light. And when you fry it, it kind of gets puffy with a lot of air on the inside. And that goes down very well with some saltfish and some vegetables. So those are my favorite Lucian food. They have some other foods that I don't touch, things like black pudding. That's made from the blood of pigs, I think, and the pig intestine. Even though they have I think they have a vegetable. I may be wrong. I think they have a vegetable black pudding, but I can't touch that. But Lucians love it, and they also love another dish called the sauce, which is made from pig trotters and pig snout and pig feet and all sorts of parts of the pig. Don't do that anymore.
Which you don't do anymore. So when you want your Jamaican fix, are you cooking your Jamaican escovite steam, or is there a couple places you go to and you're getting all of that?
I want to tell you, I love cooking. I spend a fair amount of time in the kitchen preparing. My wife hardly knows what the kitchen looks like, and I'm always cooking up some stuff. But in recent years, we've had a few Jamaican restaurants opened up, and there are a few trucks or food vans that sell a lot of jerk chicken, jerk pork. They're quite popular, and in recently we've been getting Jamaican patties. So there's a Jamaican company that brings in, you can get beef, vegetable, shrimp, and chicken patty. Of course, I buy a lot of the shrimp patty, and that thing is making me put on weight, man. I'm getting fat because of those shrimp patties, but it was so good to have them. So we can get Jamaican food now, no problem there.
Nice. Music. What's the dominant music that you're hearing there?
Well, Saint Lucia is into the carnival. That's a big thing. That's a big national event. It's the biggest social event on Saint Lucia's entertainment calendar. And when you talk about carnival, you're talking about soca and calypso. So during carnival time, which is usually in July, you get a lot of soca music on the radios. But outside of that, I would have to say reggae music dominate the airways. St. Lucians might not like that, but it is true. I hear a lot of reggae music on the radios, and interestingly, some of the hardcore dancehall songs that could never get played in Jamaica, that would be censored, from time to time they get played on local radio here. I'm not sure if
Oh, wow.
the words are lost in translation. I don't understand some of the things being said. But sometimes I hear them and I'm actually tempted to call the DJ and say, that song could never get played in Jamaica. But reggae music is very popular. You have some good local bands who play excellent reggae music.
Right.
Quite good.
Right.
Quite good.
You mentioned, they may not know. Well, they may know, but may know what is being said in the song. Is there a local language? We have the Jamaican language, patois, as it may be called, but we have a language. Is there a local language?
Yes. Saint Lucia has a very, very strong French heritage. This island has been ruled alternatively by the French and the English over many years. So there's a strong French influence, and most Saint Lucians speak a local French patois. It's called, and I'm going to try to pronounce it in the local dialect. It's called Creole, which is the patois for Creole. It's a French Creole. So it's like a French patois. I have to tell you, Xavier, I can't speak it after 29 years, and I'm really embarrassed about that. But it's because I don't hear it consistently enough. The people who I'm around on a daily basis would speak normal English. So in past, you hear people talking patois on the radio, but that's one thing I have to work on.
We'll hold it again.
But I will tell you, they will happily teach you the cuss words.
Like everywhere else.
So I could, if I try, tell you a few choice words in Creole, but that's not fit for airplay. So
well, I know you are quite involved in the Rotary community there, and also the Jamaican community. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. 27 years ago, the High Commissioner from Trinidad that has responsibility for Saint Lucia and the Eastern Caribbean visited us in Saint Lucia, and we had a cocktail party at Sandals. And we had a nice group of professional Jamaicans here at the time. And we had a cocktail party with her. And when she met with the group, she said, "But you guys have such a nice group down here. Why don't you form yourself officially into an association and establish a proper association?" And we just took the idea and ran with it, and we set about establishing a formal association called the Jamaica Saint Lucia Community, affectionately known as Friends in Helen. And we became quite a significant group in Saint Lucia. Back then, we used to put on major fundraising events. We brought on plays from Jamaica. We brought on Oliver. We used to put on every year what we call a big President's Fete. It's an all-inclusive day fete catering for families, where we would cater for hundreds of St. Lucians, cooking jerk pork and jerk chicken and manish water. We could not provide enough food, Jamaican food, to feed the people who come to our President's Fete. And I was one of the founding members of the association, and I was president on a couple of occasions. And we did really good work. We offered sponsorship to students. We visited homes of the needy and painted homes and did quite a bit of community work. But people come and people go and people move on, and so over time, as time got more demanding, people's jobs got more demanding. The association kind of went quiet. So like right now, it's a little dormant. I mean, I'm among the older Jamaicans here now, and so we kind of wanted to pass it off to the young Turks to take it over and run with it. But it's a very different time now, and so quite a few are still there, but we're not as functional and in a formal way as we used to be 15 years ago. And you mentioned Rotary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been very involved in Rotary. I've been a Rotarian now for 27 years. And that is where I've given a lot of my time and effort to Saint Lucia. I was president of the Rotary Club of Saint Lucia 21 years ago. And then last year I was a president again. So I'm the immediate past president, as well as what we call the assistant governor for this region. And it has just been a wonderful way to give back to Saint Lucia. It has certainly helped me to get integrated into the system and to get to know people and establish relationships while doing a lot of good community work. So I'm very happy for that experience.
As I said, famous from Westmoreland.
Strap boogie.
Yes, straight boogie.
Straight boogie. I boogied straight out of strap boogie. Straight out of strap boogie.
All right, strap boogie.
Strap boogie.
Let me ask you this. What would you say was your biggest adjustment moving from Jamaica to Saint Lucia?
So remember, it's another Caribbean island, right? So the biggest challenge for me, I'd have to say, was adjusting to the food. That was the first challenge I had, because coming from Jamaica, where I was a big meat eater at the time, and I'm very accustomed to my spicy, love my hot, spicy, peppery food. And so for the first few weeks, I was really in a state. But you gradually caught on to it, and in no time I was knocking it up like nothing. But what I was mindful of all the time, and this was really important, I said to myself, you must always be mindful that you're in another person's country, right? And you have to be mindful that things are going to be different, not exactly what you're accustomed to. So some of the culture and traditional norms are going to be different from what you're accustomed to. And always bear that in mind and come with an open mind and adjust to it and not resist it. So that advice I gave to myself, I think worked very well, because I was able, I got assimilated into Saint Lucia society very early, very easily. And I usually don't have a problem getting to know people and establishing relationships and friendships. I think I could do that quite well, and that has worked for me. So the adjustment wasn't that was not a challenge for me at all. I fit in from day two.
No, cost of living. What's the cost of living like? And maybe let me clarify. Maybe you can give an example by, if I go to like a medium nice restaurant, in terms of US, what's the cost of the meal?
Okay. Well, in some things it's quite good. In other areas it might seem expensive. So let me first establish that St. Lucia's exchange rate to the US dollar is a very, very good thing. It's the standard buying exchange rate is 2.7169. If I went to the bank and I wanted to buy US dollars, I would pay 2.7169 EC dollars for $1 US. Unlike Jamaica, where I think it's about 155 to 1 or something like that. And that has been one of the big things, good things about St. Lucia. They've had a very stable exchange rate, and that has existed even before I came here. And that's because of how they've established this Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, where all the islands in the Eastern Caribbean basically agree to this exchange rate. And no one island, no matter what kind of economic problems they're going through, can decide they're going to devalue the currency. So that currency union has been able to stabilize the exchange rate, and which has worked well for the islands in the OECS. So I find cost of living here is not very high. But I can give you an immediate example. It might sound high to you, and it probably is. We're going out to dinner in a restaurant, let's say a fairly decent restaurant or in a hotel. Lunch, a good lunch, would probably cost, well, it cost me close to 185 EC dollars, and this was in a hotel, right? So 185 EC dollars divided by 2.7, that would been about, well, it's expensive, but it depends on where you go, where you go, and what your
a hotel restaurant is going to be. We know.
Yeah, you got to pay 60, 65 US dollars or more
yes.
for just lunch, right?
Yes.
But you can get a decent lunch in Castries for 15 EC dollars, 20, between 15 to 25 EC dollars. You get a very good lunch. And you could get a very good lunch for 20 EC dollars, which would comprise of green fig and saltfish, which I buy a lot. And that's very filling, So
it really depends on where you're going.
Yeah, when I hear about the prices of real estate in Jamaica, I mean, it's hard to wrap my mind around those figures.
Yes. Yeah.
So I have to keep converting back to US and then converting back to EC to see.
Right. To see what.
Yeah, but no.
All right.
Crazy.
No, I know you are, involved in the community. You do a lot of community work there and so on. What do you absolutely love doing in Saint Lucia? When you and I communicated, I saw some pictures. I don't know if it's a photography, but it seems like you're into photography. I'm not sure now. and what do you absolutely love doing, there?
Yeah, well, I'm a quiet guy.
And stick up in. I also see a guitar in the background.
Oh yeah, I have two guitars. I'd started learning to play the guitar some time ago, and I kind of gave up. Well, not give up. I had to stop because of other commitments. But it's on my bucket list to get back to it this year. I must learn to play at least one musical instrument in my lifetime, and I love music. In fact, I used to be part of a musical group here, my Rotary Club. We still do have a musical group known as the Rotary Calabashers, and I was one of the founding members of that. And I used to sing my heart out in the group. I've actually performed in Chicago, man, with the Rotary Calabashers, as well as
famous straight movie.
But our group, that was, I'm not a singer by any means, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. There were times when I'm on stage and I'm miming some of the lines because I couldn't remember my lines, but you would never know because I'm just moving my lips with the music. And so we performed in Chicago at the Rotary Centennial Convention back in, I think that was 2005. We performed on cruise ships here and at various locations around the island. But when the group became a serious performing group and became the main fundraiser for our Rotary Club, I decided to step aside and go solo, meaning go solo, and allow real singers and real musicians to take my place. So, but yeah, but I don't do much. COVID has really, restricted a lot of things. I like to just chill out with a few friends in a quiet spot, whether at home or by the marina, and have a few drinks, or go by someone's home. The clubbing scene and all that is not my scene, and I do enjoy photography. I do a little bit of photography in my spare time, just as a hobby. I just love taking pictures. I also do a little bit of artwork. I would try to paint and draw and stuff like that. But I'm actually retired now from work. I left corporate Saint Lucia about 3 or 4 years ago, and I spend my time now in our family business. And my wife and I, we own and operate 2 2 medical clinics. My wife is a doctor,
Okay.
and so I kind of help out on my role is taking care of the administrative side of the
Okay.
business, and she takes care of the medical side. Even though many times I've said I'm not a doctor, but I'll take a look, but she won't have it.
It's like the singer, like no miming, no miming here.
No, so that occupies my time. One of the things I like to do is to drive out to the countryside and
Right.
take a look around. And Xavier, you'd be amazed when you come to Saint Lucia, or when you come back and take a chance to drive around, how much Saint Lucia reminds you of Jamaica. And that's what struck me the first time. How beautiful and charming this place was, and how it just took me right back home. There are places I go to, and when I see like the coastline or the mountains, I said, but I've been here before. You feel like you've actually been there before. No other island I've seen in the Caribbean that is so similar to Jamaica. So
Nice.
that I enjoy. And every now and again, my son will come by and we play a game of chess, and I quite enjoy beating him. And so
No.
yeah, I love playing chess too.
If you talked about the beauty, how the beauty, the places seem familiar, and I know there is this, and I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong, so I leave the pronunciation to you. There's this famous hill, or yeah, I'm going to mess the name up. You could tell us about it.
So
I never got there, but it is beautiful. And is there any other place you'd recommend if I visit? You have to say this, or if there's an event you say you have to go do this event, Xavier, what would that be? Place and event.
So let me correct you. I hope Saint Lucians won't get upset when they see this spot, because you referred to their famous majestic pitons as a hill.
You see, and I tried to stay away from the pronunciation, so I wouldn't get killed on the pronunciation.
I will apologize on behalf of my fellow Saint Lucians. So it's not a hill at all, man. It's the majestic pitons, and I hope you'll show them pictures of the pitons. These are world famous. In fact, they've been declared a World Heritage Site. The pitons are precious to Saint Lucians. They're like sacred ground, and they're fantastic. They're actually volcanic peaks in the town of Soufrière, and it's Saint Lucia's most significant tourist attraction. And in the Soufrière area, which is down in the south of the island, you also have a drive-in volcano, the only one of its kind in the world, where you can actually drive into the crater of this volcano and stand up at a distance and watch the steam coming up and see the water, the molten bubbling up. Yeah, we've been there many times. It's a major tourist attraction. It's called the Sulphur Springs, and they also have these mud baths built just around the volcano, where you get this hot water.
You're getting the stuff from the volcano, and you're doing a mud bath in it.
Yeah. So the water coming out from underground is heated by the heat in the volcano. I would take it. I can't speak much about the science behind it, but it's a sulfur spring where hot water is coming up out of the ground, and it's mixed with the sulfur and the mud, and they have these mud baths set up where you can go and soak in the mud bath, and it's very therapeutic and good for your skin, and it's a major tourist attraction in Saint Lucia. So when you come to Saint Lucia, you have to head to Soufrière. It's a really nice countryside drive out to Soufrière, and you can climb the pitons. I haven't climbed the piton yet, and I'm moving up in age. I really should try and do that. But there are 2 pitons, and a lot of tourists come here and climb the pitons, and you get a complete 360 degrees view of the island.
And you can see some of the other islands from up there.
Oh yes, on any given day I can see Martinique. At nights I can see all the lights, even the car lights in Martinique. It's just a 10-minute flight to Martinique, and I take the opportunity to go as often as I can. But that's things you have to do when you come to Saint Lucia. Go to Soufriere. You also have to go to the usual Friday night street party in Grosley. That's a fishing village in the north of the island. That is perhaps the most popular tourist attraction, apart from the beaches. It's the street party in Grosley. It's a fishing community where vendors line the streets. There's a DJ set up every Friday night, and music and partying in the streets. And this is where the tourists gets up close and personal, and sometimes very personal with the local community. And it's a wonderful place to be. It's just a nice vibe. You know, most tourists.
And it's every Friday, Saturday, every Friday night.
Except on Good Friday.
Okay.
This is a very serious Catholic country. 70% of St. Lucians are Catholic.
Okay.
But again, because of COVID, the
Right.
street party has been shut down for the last 2 years. I think no Friday night in Grosley. But
Okay.
that's the main
Well,
thing.
hopefully we'll come back before I take a visit, or any of the viewers here take a visit. It will be back. But the volcano we can still go and see,
Yeah,
and the two volcanic
peaks.
I'm not calling the names.
They're called the pitons. The pitons.
The Piton. Okay.
Pitons. Don't ever call it a hill.
I'm learning my lesson.
That's
So listen, thank you so much for spending some time with us and telling us the story. I have a couple things before we close out here. So here's a scenario. You land in Jamaica, you get off the plane. What's that first thing you're doing? Whether it be the first thing you go and go eat, whether it be the first place you go visit, what's that first thing you're doing?
Wow. Well, normally when I come, and there was a time I used to come almost every year, sometimes twice. And my brother Oral would normally pick me up. And there's a certain restaurant downtown. I think it's somewhere on Harbour Street. Can't remember the name of the place. But man, they sell the finest food. I remember the lady wears a turban, and I think it's an Indian restaurant. But that is the first place we would go before I head home or head to the hotel. I have to do that stuff. He knows that. That's a ritual.
Is it Indian Jamaican food, or is it Jamaican food?
It's Jamaican food. Curry goat. Serious curry goat. You get some roti there as well. Yeah, man. I just can't remember the name of the place right now because I haven't. Last time
somebody will put it in the comments. Somebody will post it in the comments below and let us know which restaurant it is. All right. Yeah. So last thing, and I know you don't know the language, but I'm sure you may have picked up on this. How do you say goodbye? You know, like we say, boy, catch you later, or pan a strong, or a little more, or whatever we say. How would the Saint Lucians say that in their Creole to you?
I honestly don't know the Creole saying. I think in French I would say avoir. I think I'm not too good on my French.
All right.
But I speak Jamaican here, and I have a funny talk about that. So I would say, "All right, man, catch you later. See you later." Is the typical thing that I would say. See you later. Catch you later. Yeah.
Well, Leathon, thanks again for telling us your story. And, listen, all the best, and au revoir, and see you later.
See you later, man.
Show us some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.